Hello, I'm Dr. Dan Doak. I'm your professor for the Spring 2010 course Education 630, Improving and Teaching Thinking at Ohio Valley University. I'm looking forward to working with you in this course, which will focus on critical thinking, the application of it, some of the theory behind it. It's something that is central to our education, both for us as professionals and for the people that we teach. Most of you in this course, of course, are involved in education or training in some way, most likely. And while this course is not specific to any one academic discipline, the principles apply across the board. It also applies to many facets of life. This is the textbook that we will be using in this course. I'm hoping that most of you already have it. Brad Wilson, who is kind of our facilitator for recruiting and retention, I think has been in contact with you and has tried to make sure that everybody knew textbooks that they needed for classes. But this particular text is one that we will be using, very small book, only costs about $25, $30, something like that. It's called Habits of the Mind. Across the curriculum, there are Habits of the Mind books with several different subtitles, but this is has a second subtitle on it, Practical and Creative Strategies for Teachers. And so it is a compendium of basically testimonials and outlines of how the model of habits of the mind have been applied in the classroom. And so there, of course, is a list of habits of the mind. This is just one model of critical thinking. It happens to be the one that Arthur Costa, who has been a very prominent scholar in this area for the last 15, 20 years, it happens to be his model. And so we will be looking at that because as a central textbook, because it does deal with literally how this is fleshed out in real-life classroom and learning situations. We want to also look at ourselves and our habits with regard to thinking. A word that comes to mind when we think about thinking, or when we use a title for a course of improving and teaching thinking, we're thinking about thinking. The fancy word for thinking, of course, is has to do with things cognitive. So cognition, metacognition is sort of thinking about thinking, and so we want to think about our thinking, and perhaps we might want to kind of use a recursive formula there, and we're going to think about how we think about thinking during the course of the semester. Maybe that's the way we should start our days. You know, I've got a calendar here, and I list things on here that I'm going to do during the course of the day. And so I've thought about how I'm going to think about my daily work. And then as I think, as I perform that, I think about the work itself. And so maybe that's not such a strange idea after all. We'll be using a number of sources in our class. Richard Paul and Linda Elder are two other people who write extensively in the area of critical thinking in the current literature. And so we will be alluding to their work from time to time along with others. And so we will be trying to use very current literature, very current writing, scholarship regarding this area. But we won't restrict ourselves to that. We're going to use classical works as well.